Greetings. I'd like to talk today a little bit about my manifesto and what exactly it means. I'm going to get sick of holding my camera like this, I can tell that already. But let's get to the crux of the situation. What is the Transcending manifesto? Well, Transcendentism is itself a form of anarchism, and it talks specifically about the evolution of the humane within us, the humane being the opposite to the animal. The animal is competitive, fearful, what you would consider to be probably conservative, because those things, that fear of the different is something that is considered conservative, and that is also something that is very animal, to be afraid of the different and to not really be embracing much of change. Creativity is a very human thing, at least to the levels that we have it, that we can look at a landscape and we can go and paint that, and we're able to recreate that. That is our creativity, and I talk about other schools. They try to breed that out of us, and that is exactly the truth. That is exactly what's happening. Is this society tries to take the human out of us, and make us more into an easily controlled cog in society, a consumer. Essentially, is what it's about. So why is this needed? Well, it's needed because there's a lot of inhumanities in the world, and a lot of unfairness, and a lot of stress, and different problems, and it's all because of that, basically. So that's what we need, is this manifesto, really, and to give some dignity to, particularly because I consider myself a left-wing person, and I would say that overall the populist left is weak. It needs a revival. We need a revival of a push to create a society without class, and by class, yes, I do include the state. The typical left-wing person now is very, well, how would you say, I suppose, liberal or kind of borderline socialist, but not full, not anti-capitalist, which is what I would consider myself to be. And I'm definitely opposed to a lot about liberalism. I also bear in mind the threat of nihilism, and also the idea of moral relativity. I find fairly not compatible, really, with what we wish to achieve, because if we want to create a world where we want people to be equal, we want people to have liberty, a shared respect for human life, we need to actually embrace the meaning of these things we hold with great esteem. These ideals would be the word that we want to hold to a great esteem, and we want to see brought about. We want a classless society in which humanity, and not a need for greed and power and domination, things like that. Humanity comes first, and and that we all have a fair life, and we can live without stress, and nothing to do with that animalistic of that most animalistic of societies, which is a capitalist society in which people compete against one another for resources, like animals in the jungle. As a human being, we realise that we don't need to do that anymore. We can surpass that. We can share and we can help one another. There is no scarcity on this planet. The only scarcities that there are manufactured ones. I mean, there really is enough for everyone. What it is it's all about control and who controls what, and so you get the very top people staying at the very top and the rest of us staying down. So people need to see that. People need to see exactly what is happening here. Is that we are living in a very animalistic society, a society that doesn't value humanity, and we need to surpass that animalist behaviour even in ourselves, because we all suffer from, say, jealousy is what I would consider a lower, in fact I would consider it one of the lowest of the low emotions. If you're a jealous person, that is a disgusting thing to be. If you're an egotistical person, that is pretty disgusting as well, because I'm not saying you should be completely humble and have no self-worth, but if you are an arrogant person, that is the equivalent to being competitive, to being to bragging, to, it's not a very human thing to do. A human thing to do is to help others. A human thing to do is to realise that other people are struggling and that you need to help them to get to your position, and to actually build yourself as a person. You don't need to brag to other people. You don't need to do that. You don't need that egotistical, because all that does is it doesn't help. It doesn't help anything. It doesn't help a cause. So the ego, envy, and to an extent fear. Fear is natural, but to let that fear control you, and it's a tool that is used by the establishment, by the law, by everyone else, to keep you trapped, because you're afraid of what they will do. You're afraid of change, and you're afraid that there is no faith to have in humanity. Conservatives are perhaps some of the most sceptical people when it comes to having faith in humanity, and that's really what we need at this moment, is some faith in humanity. And again, I talk about all this in my book. I talk about integrity, I talk about creativity, I talk about faith, I talk about all these individual things that you can use to build yourself into a better person, and from building ourselves into these better people, we will build a utopia on this planet, a society where people are free to live as they want. And that is essentially what we are aiming for. And we have to realise that we cannot switch and make some utopian society come about. It starts here. It starts inside of us, So I urge you to look at my book, to take heed when I talk about the struggle within us, of the struggle between competitive, egocentric self and the higher, humane element of a person, in which you are not fearful, you are helpful towards other people, you are social, you are a human, as humans should behave and will behave in their prime state. You see, our economy actively engineers competition and things that turn people hostile. But we don't want this hostile world. We want to transcend that. Hence Transcendentism and Transcendentism within ourselves as well. Becoming the the best person we are capable of, really. So I would definitely urge you to take a look at my manifesto. And I don't know where to go from there, really. It is an anarchist manifesto, there's no denying it. It calls for the abolition of class and wealth ownership. It also calls for an end to all forms of oppression. And essentially, I do intend to unite all people of all religions. There is nobody who cannot, atheist or anyone else. I consider it a turt, because I believe atheists need a set of virtues to get them through society, and I believe all people do, and I believe that the ones that I have laid out are the most humanistic and will lead to the best kind of paradise. I have given people an antidote to the nihilism and the self-interest and rampant selfishness, and given people another way out to build a new society, a higher human society, not a competitive, lowly society, which I believe we are currently experiencing. Yes, so I would definitely recommend this as a new philosophy to bring all people together. All people of all faiths can keep their faith, but embrace a society in which one person is not above another and there is no competition or anything like that. You see, it's very, very simple. But at the same time, I call it a church, because I consider that we should all be as one in this group, and I'd like to see communes and everything. I just want to see people united and wherever they are in the world, and I don't have to believe anything weird, but they have to share a set of values to drive humanity forward. And I think those things that I talk about, integrity, in things like that, they are specifically about raising the height of human consciousness to such a level that we will transcend those inner lower feelings to make us a higher humanity, a more humane humanity, in which we can be open with our feelings, in which people do not feel a need to lie and they do not need to compete with one another. Instead, people will love one another, and it's very beautiful when you think of it. Very beautiful. And I definitely urge you to have a read. Definitely, wherever you are in the world, I want you to see this idea that I have in my head, and maybe somehow we can make this a reality, a real reality. It's very beautiful. So please have a look. My Anarchist Manifesto, my Transcending Manifesto. Very wonderful. And I urge you to stay strong with whatever you are going through at this minute. And remember that there is another way, that whatever struggles you're having with your work, whatever that, we can overcome that. We can create a new society. We can build beautiful eco houses, and we can house everyone, and we can pretty much live self-sufficiently in this day and age with the right input to begin with. We can do it. We can build this wonderful place. We need ideological unity. This is true. And this is going to be hard in a world that clings to the old and is afraid of change and is resisting. But it's possible, people. It really is possible. So I say to you, enjoy it. Enjoy the book. take on the tenets and share it with other people, because other people should learn the tenets too, because the tenets are what make us human. And our society is anti-human. It's trying to make us unhuman. It's trying to make us a machine or some easily programmed, non-thinking animal, essentially, like a cog. And the animal isn't conscious of its surroundings. So it's very convenient that they would want to make our brain like that. So much love, and I will see you later, and stay strong, enjoy the manifesto, and I hope that one day together we will hold hands and we will walk together as one, all people of the earth. One thing to unite all people, one belief to combine all humanity and to respect humanity. No nations, nothing. Just one people. No more conflict.